Hello, everybody. Well, I just love coming on at this time because I feel like I'm actually going out for lunch with friends. It's just after lunch in Oz, so it's just the perfect time and it's so much fun. I love it. I think I'm going to have to do this more often. I'm so excited. Well, when I put up the video earlier on in the week about my opinion and speculation about Secret Gate, Secret Meeting Gate, I did ask you very specifically to leave your comments under the video, and that was because I always had this in mind. I wanted to share your thoughts and your comments. You know what? There is a deep well of wisdom, knowledge in this community, and I love to tap into it because it's very, very helpful. Often the media, often the media do a really good job, but often their focus is on something that's a little different to what's really concerning people. I've noticed that. And sometimes even my videos are not tapping into what people's main concern is. So I find it very helpful to sort of tap into that well of wisdom that is sitting beneath my videos. And that's why I love reading the comments. So it's a very democratic process because all the comments that resonate the most with people bubble to the surface, as you know, with the thumbs up system, with the top comment system. So what I've gone and done is I've gone in and grabbed like the top 10, the most popular comments. Now, they're not necessarily comments where I agree with everything that's said, but I'm not important in this. This is about you having your say. So I just grabbed the top 10 and I didn't put my thing on it. I didn't put my overlay of judgment on anything. I just grabbed them. Okay, so we're going to look at those. Also, of course, I'm going to go into the comments that are on this live. I've been reading them with interest while I've been just sort of waiting to hit play. And again, a great variety of opinions. And you know what? Just about every angle on this story has a valid element to it that makes sense. That is what is so fascinating about this whole thing. And even when I didn't watch any YouTubers before I put up my opinion piece, I never do because I don't want to be swayed because I like someone, you know. And since then, I've watched Sidley Twins, I've watched According to Taz, I've watched The Royal Grift, I've watched Neil Sean, I've watched lots of people. And I'm really glad that I didn't watch them before I put up mine because I am rather swayed by quite a few of their very powerful arguments. So it's very interesting. But the main focus of this community was not on Harry and Meghan. It was not on frustration with the king or anything to do with the king. It wasn't about leaks or, you know, who, what, where, when, how it was leaked. None of that was the focus of your top comments. Guess what your focus was? Your focus was on the Wales family. That was your pure focus, protecting the Wales family. That was the one thing that you could all agree on without question. And I think it really taps into that feeling that the late Queen was, you know, had to endure something at the end of her reign that she shouldn't have had to have put up with. And also that really palpable feeling that her legacy was being undermined right at the end of her life. And after a 70-year run, a 70-year hard graft, really, it just seems so unfair. And I think that, you know, a lot of people can agree on that. We can have disagreement with, you know, a lot of different smaller aspects of this story. But there's one thing we all agree on, that wasn't fair. It shouldn't have happened. We were appalled the fact that, you know, Prince Philip was dying at the time. And of course, the Queen was suffering from a very severe illness and was just bravely carrying on. Anyway, I won't whip myself up too much. But that is a common theme. And so now I'm going to bring up the comments. I've given the little preamble and I'm going to bring up these comments and I'm going to see what all you guys think that are live with me now. Okay, so let's check this out. This was the very top upvoted comment underneath the video from Scarletta. I feel so sorry for Prince William. Like I said, overwhelming theme. He was the one who got hurt the most. King Charles' behaviour is unfair and weak for not setting clear boundaries. Well, I expressed that opinion in my video at the end. It's not so much I don't like King Charles. I have an enormous amount of sympathy for him. I've defended the guy pretty much for the last 2 years, 2.5 years. But it was this feeling of this sort of slightly indecisive response after the Queen's death, with all the furor, about the coronation, will they come, won't they come, all that sort of rubbish, letters supposedly coming between Melodrama Cito and the palace, all that. I wanted it shut down. I really wanted it firmly shut down at that time. If any reconciliation happens, I think the majority of the public will lose trust in the monarchy. And that is where we are in agreement. I agree, like I've said frequently, if Harry ever ends up on that bloody balcony, I'm out. And I think everybody has that feeling. To be truthful with you, I'm not really out because I do believe firmly in a constitutional monarchy. And also I back William and Catherine 100%. I am so excited to see them actually fulfill their roles one day. And I also back the King because the King is the head of the constitutional monarchy that actually is part of my political system or my constitutional system in my country. So, of course, I am a loyal subject, but we're allowed to express frustration and we're allowed to express opinion. And I think it's healthy to do so. Right, let's get on to your next opinion. This is from Carmel Deacon. This is an absolute insult to William and Catherine. Now, be aware, this isn't some random opinion. This has been upvoted by 1.2 thousand people in a day. And so that was, like I said, this feeling of protection, wanting to protect the Wales family, which really resonated with me. I can see it and I can understand it. This is from Lisa Murphy, bit of a different take. Out of money, wants money. Now, this is really interesting, and I'll show you an interesting post that was on Twitter last night. But a lot of people mixed me up with Neil Sean because I'm Shauna Kay, and he's Neil Sean. And some people got their Seans mixed up. So they sort of mixed up Neil Sean's argument of the purpose of the meeting with what I said, was I didn't really come down too heavy on what I thought the meeting was about. I kept saying, speculation, because I don't think we can really know, can we? But I sort of thought it might have been about Invictus, about the Invictus invite, but I don't know. I don't have any secret, inside goss or anything like that. So Neil Sean's premise was the fact that Harry's running out of money, which is probably very true, and that he was there, to sort of rustle up some release of some trust funds. Now, I have a lot of respect for Neil Sean. I love him. He's such a professional. He has been in the biz for so long and also at the very top of this profession. And now he's gone off and created essentially a one-man network on YouTube. So I have enormous respect for the man. I would love to interview him actually one day about his showbiz career because I think it would just be absolutely fascinating. But I did disagree with that premise, respectfully disagree with that premise, because I just don't think there would be chats about money, trust funds, things like that with comms staff. I think that's very much in Clarence House, behind closed doors, with lawyers. I don't think they would be discussing trust funds with comms team. Also, the other factor of these trust funds is the royal family has a lot of this financial thing very private, very locked down, impenetrable, really. And that's why it would only go through a lawyer. Because, look, even their wills aren't published. Ordinary people's wills are available. That's why we could see what was in Princess Diana's will, because she was no longer considered a member of the royal family or an HRH. So her details of her will was shared. But the royal family's wills are not shared like everybody else's is, in the UK. So they have it all very locked down. Doubt it would be a comms team thing. That's just my view, but who says I'm right? Okay, back to your comments. Sue Arnett. The Harkles must never be allowed back into the royal family. I think everyone agrees with that. I think on a private capacity, we have no say. But as far as, like you say, into the royal family itself, yes, I think we are all in agreement. They cannot undo the devastating damage to Her late Majesty and Prince Philip in their last years. And hear for that. You're not going to get an argument, Sue. I don't think you're going to get an argument at all. Cindy, I'm sorry, William, you don't deserve this. And that moved me because I feel the same way. Can you imagine? Now, this isn't attributing blame. This isn't the blame game in this emotion. It's just the feeling that it feels like a can of worms being opened up. Now, regardless of what was discussed at the meeting, regardless of who leaked the meeting, because I don't think anyone can really know for sure. We can present valid arguments, but we all don't really know. But the fact is, there was the King's Comms chief there, and there was Harry and Meghan's aides there, right? So we can establish that. That is the one fact that we know. And that's where I feel sorry for William. Because regardless of the where, what, why, and the leaking and the whole speculation, it feels like it's reigniting something that had pretty much found its level. And it sort of really aroused a lot of feeling and emotion and things like that. And William must be thinking, we had all this settled, we had it all locked down, we all knew what we thought, and Dad, why did you send your guy? Because even if, particularly in a public place, because even if, as many people believe, the Sussexes did definitely leak this meeting and did definitely arrange the photo op, and I respect that argument, well, why do it? It's just so silly to walk so blatantly into that situation. You would have to have a meeting on palace grounds where you've got security, where everything's locked down, where things like mobile phones and all that sort of thing is, taken care of when people come through. They do go through a security check. They don't just let anyone walk in. Also, the other thing is there can be no pap. There can be no paparazzi photos if it's within the auspices of Clarence House, for example. So do you see what I mean? It was a little silly. And it has really, really not only backfired on Harry and Meghan in a very big way, but I feel it has backfired on the palace. Just that decision to attend a meeting in a public place. I think it was pretty amateurish myself. Okay, now this is Ian. Hi, Ian, one of the rare guys in the comments. Ian has been with me since the day dot, I think I first started my YouTube channel back in 2014. And I used to just talk books, and Ian's been with me since then. Totally agree. Harry should have been put in his place. No more Harry's tantrums, selfishness, and arrogance. Well, good on you, Ian. It's good to have a decisive opinion there. I agree. Veronica Cattell. Can anyone believe that William would trust the Markles around Princess Catherine and the children? I certainly don't. I'm with you on that, Veronica. I would be so protective of my children. I wouldn't want them around that sort of toxic atmosphere. I would be very aware of all the attacks if I was William on my beautiful wife. And I would also be aware too of the fact that George is going to be the heir to the throne. Once, of course, King Charles shuffles off the mortal coil and William ascends to the throne, well, then George is next, right? And I would be very, very aware of not wanting him to inherit this toxicity, not wanting him to inherit this whole ugly mess. I think William would be very mindful of that. Now, this is the comment where I got mixed up with Neil Sean, and I must thank Stealth Cat for the shout, because, any shout is appreciated and valued by me, but it's just that it was a little bit of misinformation about Harry trying to get some funds released. I've already gone through it, so I won't go over it, but I just wanted to thank Stealth Cat and say my response was a little panicky on X last night. I did not say this, but I did put a laughy face to let her know that it's not anger. It was just a little bit of panic. No member of the royal family is going to discuss money with comms staff. Trust fund discussions involve lawyers, privacy, and no photo ops. So that's my position. Like I said, I'm no guru. I may be wrong, but I just wanted to make that point. Now I am going to share your comments. I'm just going to tell you I've shifted a little, and it was due to the People magazine take on this whole meeting gate, because I heard this phrase that I heard. Remember when the Oprah Winfrey interview came out? And do you remember soon after that there was speculation whether there was a phone call between Prince William and Prince Harry? And there was heavy speculation in the days following that Oprah Winfrey interview was aired. And Gayle King came out, obviously, with a hot take from Meghan. She didn't even try to hide the fact that she was speaking on behalf of Meghan. We all knew she'd spoken to Meghan. And there was a phrase that sort of rang, it was similar to this one. And so this is all Meghan. This reaction to this, in my opinion, is all Meghan. So the headline in People magazine, Prince Harry and King Charles' aides took a good first step. There's optimism. Okay, but that's not the quote. This is the quote where I thought, hello, not hello magazine, hello people. There was plenty to discuss. It was a good first step. Now that similar sentiments were put out there immediately after the Oprah Winfrey interview, that although not a lot had been, settled, it was a good first step, says an insider. Hi, Megs. It is always better to be talking. Is it, Rachel? Is it always better to be talking? And yet you never do. You always hide and do snipey little bits through media representatives. Not once have you been up front. Not once have you actually ever come out and said anything directly, because if you come out and say anything directly, you might get some heat back. It takes courage to lay your opinion out honestly, clearly, and transparently, because often you get a lot of heat back. But that's not how she operates. All right, I am going to go to your comments. This is Lise Dummett. I think it was deliberately done in a public place by both sides as to test public mood and start preparing public mood, almost as Charles had to start preparing public on him going to marry Camilla. Now, this is where I do agree with that. And this isn't bagging out Charles. This is knowing how he operates. Because if you go back to when he was Prince of Wales, he's very much a weather ballooner. I call him a weather ballooner. He also loves to employ people that used to work in tabloids, very much so with Mark Boland, and this time with Tobin. Now, the reason why I thought that the palace is not overly fussed or unduly worried about the balcony thing, and I'm not saying they're nefarious, I'm not saying they're villains, I'm saying they're strategic. Because Tobin, was the ex-deputy editor of the Daily Mail and also of the Sunday Mail. Now, I just don't think that they could have run with that story. Also, don't forget, Rebecca English is head of the Royal Rota, Daily Mail. Palace Confidential, Daily Mail, very, very, very pro-palace, extremely pro-palace. They are a tame news source when it comes to the palace. I don't think that's a bad thing. I think they need as much help as they can get to counter this, sort of narrative that's been thrown at them, these attacks that have been thrown at them. So that's why I said, I'm not so sure it's just melodramacito, and I'm not so sure that the palace would be unduly worried about anything. That's all, because I saw it as strategic. I saw it as weather ballooning. But again, just opinion, but evidently an opinion that other people do share. Now I'm going to try and find an opinion that not necessarily is that opinion. Oh, if you get a chance, check out Taz's latest video. She put it up early this morning. She provides a very solid case for why it is purely the Sussexes that did all this leaking. I thought her case was exemplary. She goes back into the history of the situation, and she made a really great point about Harry always crying wolf when she said they came out with the defense that, oh, they're shocked about the leak and all that. To her, that seemed really contrived and very much crying wolf. Great video. I suggest you watch it. Okay, just my opinion. Perhaps the meeting was in a public place, not to give it gravitas of it being in a royal palace, to make it clear they're not important enough. That is a fascinating take and a clever take. See, wisdom in the community, other angles. I never even considered that. That is smart. I love that. Okay, we'll keep on going down. JM. Narcissists always do things underhandedly, blame shifting and plausible deniability. Yes. Oh, you're so, that of course is a valid point. Now, this is where my cynical mind kicks in, and this is where I think I need to sort of ground myself in reading comments underneath my videos, because you can get a little loopy-la-la when you're doing this sort of job. I'll tell you, you can get carried away with yourself a bit. And one of the things I thought was, how everyone was looking at the photo. Now, this is probably really stupid, so take it in that tone. When everyone was looking at the photo and the King's comm chief looked really surprised with the pap, and then Harry and Meghan's team just looked quite stoic and like they were unaware, and then they all went inside. Well, I thought that Tobin's reaction was a little overdone. It's probably wrong. But I just felt, like I said, because I have this bias, this opinion that I think King Charles III's team is weather ballooning, because I know through Camilla Tominey's piece that they did very definitely poll on the popularity of the King attending the Invictus Games. And it was a serious reach out by the palace. They wanted to know. They have to sort of get in touch with public sentiment and public feeling. That's where I think it's been a little off with the palace. I mean, the July the 7th Memorial Day, it upset a lot of people. And because it seemed to not focus enough on what really happened or the victims or acknowledge that. And anyway, another subject, I won't get into it. But Prince William's sort of reaction to that was picture perfect. Did you notice? Because the focus was on the victims and he didn't get anyone's backup. Because I feel like King Charles III is a little out of touch with public sentiment about what's being on the ground, what people are enduring on the ground, and the fact that diverseness, especially culturally, it is not often smooth sailing. Often people on the ground suffer in very great measure. And that is not being racist, I don't think. I think it's just being a realist of what people are enduring out there actually on the ground. So I think he might be a little bit out of touch. I'm just getting that feeling. And I'll be interested to see what you think. Yes, very good point, Oolong. Personally, to protect the King, I wouldn't want the meeting at any official places to give the King deniability. Brilliant point. I'm just wondering, though, if they could have had it maybe in like St. James's Palace, which is known to be sort of the admin part of the whole institution, very, very much removed. Like, it's not like it's Buckingham Palace. Clarence House, I agree, because it's very much their private residence, isn't it, in London? So you make a great point. Like I said, there's a lot of great points out there. And everybody has an aspect that I think is valid. I've not looked at one argument where could dismiss it out of hand. There is really common sense out there and a lot of good points. Okay. He can reconcile with his father behind closed doors. He's not our son. There's no forgiveness from us. Put him with Andrew in the back. Look, a lot of people have that sentiment. I think I agree. He can reconcile with them as much as he likes in private. And it's funny because, when Andrew Loney came on and he said that he thought that Harry would be embraced back into the royal family, I had a private conversation with him after that, and he said he forgets to say his own opinion on things. He just sort of says what he what he thinks according to the data, very sort of coldly and unemotionally. But I know that he's not a fan of Harry and Meghan in any way whatsoever. I mean, he went out of his way to draw parallels between the Wallace Simpson and the King Edward VIII situation, and he was invaluable in countering their narrative, particularly after the Oprah Winfrey interview. He put a lot of hard work in, and he wasn't flogging his book because his book had already happened. Like, it was way before, it wasn't even really a thing about sales or anything. So I know that he doesn't think that's a good idea. He doesn't think that that's a smart move on behalf of the palace. I think he even used the expression cack-handed. But he forgets to tell you that. When he tells you, I say to him, look, Andrew, there's a way to present unpalatable information. You've got to remember to let them know that you agree, but you think, unfortunately, this may happen, It's just the way you present things, I think. All right. Okay, this is interesting from all that fluff and stuff. It might be the case of keeping your friends close, but your enemies even closer. Makes sense. Makes sense. Also, I was interested to see in the people thing, because as you know, I really believe that's coming directly from Melodrama Cito, that they were talking about resolving conflict of schedules, and hoping that, schedules wouldn't conflict and that there wouldn't be this overlapping of PR and media releases sort of overshadowing other occasions. Now, we all know for the last 2.5 years that that's all they've done is overshadow or try to. But I tell you what, no one overshadowed Wimbledon. No one. They can't. Come on. That standing ovation, that's gone all around the world. Martina I can't say a word. I won't try. I'll just say Martina. I do know how to say it. I'm just hyped up and a little bit nervous. The curtsy, gorgeous. And the Sidley twins pointed that out in their live yesterday, which I really enjoyed. Billie Jean King, Martina curtsying, that quick little bob. And of course, being US citizens, the Sidley twins pointed out they didn't have to curtsy. And, it was just a lovely gesture of respect. And that roar from the crowd. And I've also got some lovely photographs to show you as well of the second day with the whole family in their lovely Wimbledon blue. It's just superb. Thank you so much, Corgyville Midwest. That's very nice. But if you're going to leave a super sticker, you should leave a comment. Or maybe you did. Maybe my mod wiped it out. I'm so sorry. I'll have to give you your money back. I have a mod that is my son. He's in another room and he works completely independently from me. Now, I have told him that I do not mind disagreement in any form. I said only time out people with direct abuse, or time out people that may say something in the comments that YouTube is going to get cross at me about, because we do have a responsibility as the publisher to moderate comments and make sure that there's not a defamatory accusation against anyone being discussed in this live. He's on the ball, but if he's a little overzealous, just forgive him. I mean, he's trying to protect his mum. What can you do? I think he's doing a good job. So don't take offense. I told him only to time out so that you can come back and try again. All right, this is from Rhonda Loves. I wouldn't trust Harry's people not to try to plant bugs in the palace. My goodness me, that's a bit James Bond, bit 007, isn't it? But look, probably within the realms of possibility, we all suspect that at the Jubilee service that, there was a lot of sort of shuffling with collars, wasn't there? With Colonel Johnny Thompson behind them. Yes, lots of sort of collar shifting, and who I would love to talk to, of course, the late Princess Margaret's daughter Sarah Chatto was sitting right next to Meghan. Oh, I would love to go to a dinner party and actually find out what she had to say, because she would have heard everything. Meghan had the fixed rictus grin on, and she was sort of talking to Harry like this, like, no, it's okay, leave it. You can't see the microphone. It's all right. Harry, just leave it. Stop fiddling. That's what it was like. Oh, gosh. It was just, amazing. An agreement with Taz, in my opinion, the Sussex's ditch protesteth too much, doth protesteth too much. They were totally behind it all. Yep, can see that. Okay, Susan Reich. Wouldn't Charles have to give final clearance with the press? That was Bookworm 2's opinion, that Charles gives the final okay for this public press exposure. It's a valid point, but honestly, just reading history and reading what I've read and sort of knowing how the Boland thing all went down, no. Because he tends to distance himself. He tends to give, which you would have to, but if he brings someone in to play hard, and look, you don't hire someone, an ex-deputy editor from the Daily Mail and the Sunday Mail, unless you expect them to play hard. Like this isn't all refined genteel. Like I said, it's more Sopranos than The Crown. And so, no, he wouldn't be on any sort of formal thing of giving approval for anything that was a pap shot or a weather ballooning. No. Okay, Koala Blues. Do you think, I'm going to just pop you up there. Can I pop you up there? I'll read it out. Do you think the Reconciliation Summit is detracting from something else happening behind palace walls? Possibly. My fear is, there's a lot of emotion out there where people are saying that King Charles III is wrapping up his affairs. Now, of course, that's just speculation. And of course, too, be aware that the plans for the funeral of the reigning monarch are, they start even a decade out from when anything happens. I mean, really, the Queen's did. It just happened way, way, way out before she actually passed away. So it doesn't really mean anything. But there is always a conscious thing about this smooth transition and having things locked down and having your affairs in order. And so therefore, it would make sense to me on a private capacity that the King would want to wrap up loose ends. You would want to, wouldn't you? But I just don't understand the venue. I'm sure things will become clear as time goes on. All right, now I am going to share. Thank you so much for your thoughts. You've nailed it. Now I did want to share this because I think it's really, really important because we've got to sort of call out bullying when we see it. Did you see this? This was Camilla Tominey trying to enjoy Wimbledon, and this was what was said by a Sussex troll. Sat behind Camilla Tominey at Wimbledon, don't worry, Sussex squad. I mentioned I wasn't a Harry and Meghan fan and that she blocked me on Twitter for calling her a wanker. Well, you know what? I'd block you too. What an ugly, rude person you seem to be. That isn't free speech. That's just personal attack and abuse. That's not an opinion. Okay, so this awful person, can you imagine being on a day off, you've got your tickets to Wimbledon and some idiot like this is mouthing off behind you? Can you imagine? A few people said, well, why didn't she call security and get her removed? Because she knew that would backfire, because then she comes across as the bully if she does that, doesn't she? So she just had to suck it up. But her main embarrassment was for all the people around her that had tickets to Wimbledon that were getting it ruined by this absolute bullying idiot. So this is Camilla Tominey's response on Twitter. I know she's since done an interview on a podcast, which was very interesting. I encourage you to go and watch it. You were rude and obnoxious and annoyed everyone sitting in our area with your drunken screaming and shouting. Try laying off the sauce, love, and sharing some self-awareness next time you're in public, you vile troll. Now, to get that sort of response from Camilla Tominey, obviously it was really bad. It was really, really bad. So let's get on to some happier news and look at the lovely Prince George. I posted, look, his smile lights up the court, and it did. And like son and mum, look at her smile lighting up the court. My goodness me, that was just such a stunning appearance. And I've got to say, I love Catherine's necklace. Isn't that absolutely gorgeous? Oh, I love it. It was so modern. It suited her dress so well. Then, of course, I've been told that I'm not allowed to admire Prince William. So I'm going to be like a robot because people said that I was disgusting. So I'm going to say, here is a picture of the Prince of Wales going to his seat at Wimbledon. I am not going to draw attention to his good looks or the apparel he is wearing on the day. Is that okay? Is that no lust at all? I'll just let you enjoy the photographs of Prince William, who is the Prince of Wales. There you go. Very robotic. Not going to get into trouble. Yannick Sinner, of course, it's all about the tennis, baby. It's all about the tennis. For me, it's about seeing the appearances by the Royals and who turns up in the Royal box, really. But I am a tennis fan. I do watch the tennis, and I thought this was a lovely result. Devastating for Carlos, but yeah. And I just wanted to put in that presentation of the trophies because for Catherine, that it's all about the tennis for Catherine. It's not about her being a star or anything like that. And this moved me. I know there's a lot of lovely shots out there where, you have Princess Charlotte sitting in the stands with her glasses and looking beautiful and cool and, gorgeous. But this sums up her character to me. Do you see the humble wonder in that little girl? She's meeting her hero. She's meeting the winner of Wimbledon. And she's just saw the match, and the look in her eyes is everything that you would want from a child of that age. It's just a completely natural response. And you just know she's going to go home and put those tennis balls underneath her pillow. You just know she is. I loved it. It was so respectful and beautiful. And you can see the look on Catherine's face when she's just looking at the look on Charlotte's face. And that is what is delighting her because she's realizing just how thrilled Charlotte was. I think it's just wonderful. I'm going to skip past that. I haven't got time. That was quite a big story, but I'll go back to that on another live. I wanted actually to put up this beautiful photo of Cressida because I have a lot of admiration for her. I think she's class all the way. And this is a lovely, just a note to finish on where she's wearing her baby with her daughter Delphina. And, of course, they welcomed their second child, who was their first baby girl, in May. And I just love her husband's name, Harry Wentworth Stanley. Harry Wentworth Stanley. And, of course, she named her baby girl Delphina Pandora after her late sister Pandora Cooper, who actually died in 2024. And they were very, very, very close. Look at that beautiful girl. And the two beautiful girls and also the little baby. And I'm so glad, Cressida, I am so glad that you escaped that toxic situation with that toxic little toad. When I called Harry a toxic little toad in my video, that did resonate with quite a few people. Let's have a look at some final comments from you guys, and then I'm going to click out and let you get on with your night or your day or whatever you've got to do. This is from Sheila MS. Did you know that the photographer Steve Burton is based in New York City? Now, how did he know to fly to London to snap people at a private members club? Sheila, you have blown my mind. Obviously, I haven't gone out enough into YouTube land and found out what everyone has hunted down. All our wonderful internet sleuths. That is fascinating. If indeed that is true, I think it firmly swings the argument into the sort of presentation that Taz presented in her video today. Taz and I are still in communication. Some people think that we have had a falling out. No. Not at all. We will never have a falling out. We are ride and die best buddies. And we are going to go on, we think, tentatively, Thursday week. which I believe is the 24th. We've got it in the diary. I'm going in for some minor extra surgery this Thursday. It's only day surgery. It's not a big deal. It's nothing, absolutely nothing. Oh, I just banged my lamp. But I'm telling you, because depending on how I pull up from that is depending when you might see me after that point. And I'm going to try and record a video tomorrow. So I've got one to pop up while I'm feeling sorry for myself and nursing my stitches. Okay, so that's what's happening. And Taz is in the works. We are trying to get together. We have had so much bad luck. You wouldn't believe it. And it has honestly been circumstance. It's not wanting to get together. It's just a whole lot of stuff's been going down behind the scenes that we won't bore you with. Anyway, love you all very much, and thank you so much for joining me. I really, really do appreciate it, and I'll see you again very, very soon. Thanks for all your input. I appreciate it. Bye, wise people. See ya.